Hello, everybody. I'm glad you could join us today. So today we're talking about something you really need to know a lot about, which is coaching and how to get the right coaching for your business, amongst many, many, many other things, including growth, implementation strategies, a lot of stuff we're going to dive into. And I think this is really important because this made all the difference in my life. When I actually got a business coach to help me see things from a different perspective, it made all the difference with the growth of our business. And I could show you the trajectory and growth of the business after I found a good coach to help me do it. And it's just astonishing on how well it works. So with us today is Brad Sugars. Now, Brad actually started the Action Coach brand in 1994 in Brisbane, Australia. Today, the company is ranked as the leading business coaching franchise by Entrepreneur Magazine. That's a really big deal. So Action Coach operates in over 70 countries and has more than 1,000 coaches around the world, coaching 15,000 businesses every week. The franchise has received numerous awards, including fastest growing franchise, franchisee satisfaction, best overall company, and has been named the #1 business coaching franchise in the world every year since 2004. So using the coaching strategies that have helped thousands of companies around the world, Brad and his executive team help lead Action Coach and its coaches to some of its most profitable and best years ever in the face of challenging economic conditions even. So Brad Sugars and his team continue to build business re-education to new, more innovative and exciting levels that I'm really excited he could be on here. So Brad, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Ty, it's really good to be with you, buddy. After that many shows, I'm like, why? I can't believe I haven't been on here earlier.
I can't either, man. I can't. Like, where have you been? Why have I not found you before? And you know,
I think
what's
it
even
might
crazier
be
is we've never really even covered business coaching in depth on here before. As crazy as that.
You know, that was one thing I noticed. I noticed that, and I thought, it's real interesting that when I first started business coaching 26 years ago now, people were like, hang on, what's business coaching? And nowadays it seems to be getting far more of, it was for a while there, people like, oh, you're failing, you should get a coach. And now it's sort of become, oh, you're doing good, you want to go great, you need to get a coach. And so it's good to see the progression of the industry too.
Yeah, it really is because, it's easier to sell painkillers than it is to sell vitamins, right?
It's funny that way because it's one of those simple aspects of business. When people said, oh, that the downturn in the economy must have made it tough on you guys. Well, actually, the downturn in the economy had a lot more people coming to us than needed to. And, when I see businesses growing and they start to get a little bit out of control because they're growing too fast, and it's like, oh, no, it's okay. We can cope with it. We can cope with it. Well, listen, I'm too busy for coaching now. That's why you need coaching. I did a video just recently and I said, hustle and grind is the new stupid for business owners, because it's like, hang on, you're working 20 hours a day. That's covering up the inefficiencies of your business. So let's stop doing that and let's start working out how your business can work for you rather than you working for your business.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, I brought a coach in because as the growth, was really occurring quickly, I knew it needed to be sustainable. If you start building infrastructures and building staff and all these type of things, it's not good enough that you get fire behind you. You got to keep that going because as the organization gets bigger, you have more and more and more expenses, payroll, those type of things to cover. So I'm one of those guys where I got in to make things better, not to try to save it.
Yeah, look, I find that some people wait too long to get a coach. But even with that being said, when your business is in growth mode, and especially if it's your first, second, or third business, you're in serious growth mode. Hey, you've never actually done this before. It might pay to have someone on your team that's actually been there before you, that can be like a cheer squad, cheerleader, but also a mentor and a coach at the same time.
Cool. Well said. I mean, like I said, it's made all the difference in my life. I think the biggest thing is, and people ask me about coaching and I tell them, I say, it's just really a different perspective. It does a lot of things. But for me, that's the real value add, is I can look at a problem, and I always go to my coaching session and say, here's the biggest problem I'm struggling with. And then it's interesting to hear a whole different perspective on that problem and solutions that I had not thought of. And I can't tell you how many of my biggest problems I've tackled like that, where I just came in and said, man, I got this huge problem. I thought through it a million times. I can't think of it. And then in one sentence, I'll be like, man, I never. And that is literally my go-to line in my coaching sessions. This is it. I never thought of that before. That's
Yeah. Yeah, it's real interesting. I actually do every now and again. I do a live coaching session online on Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that. And you ask a question from a different angle, and people are like, "Well, why didn't they think of that before?" Well, because you cannot see the forest for the trees in your own business. You just can't. I find there's three reasons coaching really works. Number one is that other perspective. They just come at it from a different angle than you did. Number two is your coach generally has a set of knowledge that you don't have. They have a bunch of knowledge. They've read different books to you, been to different courses, done different things to you. And the third is the accountability. There's nothing that beats that accountability. I was joking with a business owner the other day. He's like, yeah, I'm doing good. And I said, well, let me just ask you a question. Are you the CEO and the owner of the business? He said, well, yeah, I'm the CEO and the owner. I said, well, you're doing a bad job of both of them. And he looked at me in the eye and he goes, what do you mean I'm doing a bad job of both of them? I said, well, as CEO, you're lying to the owner. And as owner, you're accepting the CEO's lies. He goes, what lies? I said, well, you told the owner that you worked as hard as you possibly could the other day. And you didn't. And as owner, you believed yourself. It's one of those interesting things when I say to people, listen, if I owned your business, how long would you have kept your job as CEO? If tomorrow I took over and owned your business, would I keep you on as CEO? Are you doing a good enough job at it? Because people say I work harder for myself than I would for someone else. But oftentimes when you're CEO and owner, you need the accountability of a coach just to push you that little bit extra.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, what other reasons do you think are so important, Brad, that people have a business coach?
Look, I go back to a very simple thing, and that is I use a sporting analogy. If you want your sporting team to succeed, they need a coach, and the coach doesn't have to be a better player than you. They just have to be a better coach than you and bring out the best in you. I just finished writing, which one? This one, Pulling Profits Out of Hat. I think it's book number 17. And one of the more interesting things I found, because to do that book, we went and researched our clients who are having exponential growth, like the multiplier growth, not just a few percent growth, but actual multiplier growth. And year on year, not grow, dip, or grow, plateau type thing. And one of the things that is absolutely true is that within their organization, they also coach. They also build the people. See, when you as an owner experience coaching, you become better at coaching your own people. You become better at management, leadership, mentoring, and building the humans in your organization. Because one of the 5 disciplines we found in that is the people. If you don't build the people, they can't build the business. And so how you build the people from a coaching perspective, and I think we see, there's management and leadership, and both of those are needed, but I see a shift towards more coaching-based style of growing the people in organizations as we see it today.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm actually reading a book right now, $1 Trillion Coach. Have you ever read that book?
Yeah, actually, well, it's on my pile, and so I'm going on a vacation. It's on the pile to read on this vacation. So
let me tell you how it ends. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I always joke that, have you ever seen the movie the Titanic? And people are like, yeah. I said, I don't want to spoil it for you, but the ship sinks. But the interesting one behind it, and you look at $1 Trillion Coach, you look at all of these people that are out there saying, from Eric Schmidt to there's so many people talking about coaching. I sit back and I look at where we've gone from and where we're going to, and people understand in business today that human performance is a major part of the productivity and profitability. And so if I want to get the best out of the humans in my organization, it starts with the CEO. It starts with the owner. The business is, if I can be really blunt, my dad said it to me when I was a young man. He said, son, the fish stinks from the head down. If you're not growing, the business ain't growing. If you're not getting better at business, see, I learned this, I think I was maybe 17, 18. The business never gets easier. You got to get better at business. And if I'm not every day learning and growing, and that's what having a coach is all about. Like fitness, I stay fit and healthy, but when my trainer comes in, I do about 30, 40% harder workouts than when I do it just by myself. And that's sort of the performance level that a coach brings to a lot of business people.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a friend of mine, and I talked to him the other day, and he stepped out of his CEO role. And I said, why would you do that? I'm interested as a CEO, like why you would do that. And he said, well, it's simple. He said, the business grew faster than my knowledge to be able to grow the business could. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, wow, it's a powerful statement. Like, and I can relate to that because, we're always trying to learn ourselves through problems, and coaches help us do that. And for those people that don't know, $1 Trillion Coach is about a coach that coaches Larry Page with Google and, Steve Jobs and all these top guys. And it goes back to your point that he wasn't somebody more brilliant than them in business. He was just a phenomenal coach, and he came from the sporting world. And so it just kind of goes to show that, like you said, it's a different perspective. You need that coach and that different angle to really be able to get it done. How do you go about finding the right coach and figuring out like if it's a right fit for you or not?
I think first and foremost, you got to understand a coaching relationship. People are like, well, I want a coach that I really like. Not necessarily. You want a coach you can get along with, but not necessarily one you really like, because the coach is actually going to be tough on you. The coach is actually going to push you hard and push you to do things that you don't want to do and push you beyond boundaries. So you need to have that understanding. I think that the most important thing is the coach has a systematic methodology to help you grow businesses. I don't know if I've got it on the shelf here. Where is it? This one here, my book called The Business Coach. When I wrote this book, we'd actually coached 13,000 business owners to success before I wrote the book. And that's sort of 15 years old now. It's been updated since. But my point is, if they don't have a systematic methodology or the recipe, it's like within that book, I went through the 6 steps that we go through for people to actually how you grow your business. Within this one, I went through the 5 disciplines of how you get exponential growth in your business. And so it's that methodology by which you actually have the knowledge base to teach people the recipe of business growth. And I find it interesting. A lot of business owners, if they're a plumber, they have a system for doing plumbing. If they're an accountant, they have a system for doing accounting. And it's like, well, okay, have you learned the system for building a business yet? The system for building a great company? And they're like, I don't think I've learned that yet. I said, well, maybe let's start with that one. You want to build a great business, we got to learn the system or the methodology behind that. So I would say first look for someone with a methodology that actually is proven and systematic. Second of all, look to the person you can get along with. And third, and this is a real important one, don't look for someone who's in your industry. I see too many people who want a coach who's in their industry, and it's like the best ideas don't come from within your industry. You didn't get a guy building Airbnb that came from, I'm a hotel person, I'm going to go and build Airbnb. No. It's outside of the industry, generally looking in, has far better ideas. I've always said the more I travel and the more I look at other industries, and I think one of my biggest advantages, Ty, in business is, I've always owned different companies. So as a business coach, most of my learnings don't come from coaching. Most of my learnings come from my other companies. Like a couple of years back, I bought a property management company in Texas, and now we're selling that to a firm out of Silicon Valley who's going to take it to a whole nother level. But in building my property management business, I had to learn a whole bunch of things that I didn't have to learn in other businesses. When I built my dog food business way back when, I had to learn. That's how my book, Buying Customers, came about how do you actually have to invest money to buy a customer type thing. So everything comes from all the businesses I run rather than just from actual coaching. And I think the ideas that I get from my dog food business are applicable in every business out there if you break it down to the actual systematic methodology.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in that. My coach is in the pet space as well, right? And I'm in financial services. So, but again, I like that because the perspective he has is completely different on scenarios. It just is. I think it makes a ton of sense. But one of the things you talked about was that coaches, one of the good things coaches do is help keep you accountable. Why is there this disconnect between somebody getting advice and implementation? Like, what do you see there as the barrier?
Look, I hate to say it, but as human beings, our brain is designed to keep us alive and keep order. And new things is not order. Doing something new is not keeping order. To grow a business, it's going to be new stuff. It's going to be a different thing. It's going to be doing something that's uncomfortable, out of your comfort zone. And so we sit back and we say, well, okay, how do we get to doing that? Well, we kind of need someone to push us to do that. And that's same as a personal trainer for fitness. We need someone to hold us accountable to do those things. And you as the CEO, Ty, of your company, your management team will do their job. Guess why? Because they know you're looking over their shoulder, not every minute of every day, but they know you're going to come check on them and see that they did the right job. My coaching clients, I know, and these days I'm lucky enough that I just coach the companies I own. And but they know when they come to a biweekly or monthly board meeting with me and they don't have that stuff done from 2 weeks ago or a month ago that they agreed to have done, it's not going to be a pleasant session. It's not going to be fun for them. It might be fun for me, but it won't be fun for them. And so I think that's where big business has a distinct advantage over small and medium-sized companies, in that they have shareholders and a board of directors and all of these people who demand growth and demand profitability. Small to mid-sized company where the owner is the main operator, if you're paying the bills, there's no one demanding you grow. And I always sit with business owners in our first meeting and I say to them, listen, I want you to tell me, by what date will you have finished this business? And they look at me kind of funny. I said, no, by what date will this business run without you? Because if you got to be there, it's not a business. It's a job and you work for a crazy person. All right. So by that definition, by what date will this business work so you don't have to? Because the idea of business is not to build cash flow. The idea is to build an asset base. A business, it's a saleable asset that's worth something that to somebody else that you can sell it. And for you to sell it, it's got to run without you. If you have to be there, it's very difficult to sell that business because you can only sell it to someone in your industry or even in management buyout, because they're the only ones who know how to run the dang thing. They're the only ones that think it's worth something. An investor coming in won't see that. So I look at it with most business owners and say, okay, that's the date you're going to finish it. What's it going to be worth on that date? How much do you want the business to be worth when you finish it? When you finish it, what's the revenues got to be? What's the profits got to be? How many, let's get a picture in our head, and then let's work backwards and actually create that business, create that thing that's a saleable enterprise. That to me is the exciting part of developing something that a business owner sees as an asset. And you don't need as much accountability when you know where you're going. If I can be as blunt about it as possible, it's hard to lead people to nowhere. If they know where they're going, they know what they're aiming to create, then coaching a client is so much simpler. If I'm just coaching them to make more money and work harder, I do have to push them real hard. But if they know where they're going and they know what they're building, they see the asset value that they're going to create at the end, most people are more excited to get going with that than they were before.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think so many of us do it wrong. We just don't start with the end in mind. And I found that's one of the things that my coaches actually taught me, is that that's how you look at all problems, is what is the end goal that you want to accomplish, and you work backwards from there. Like I had problems letting people go. And I remember the advice was, what's it look like once it's over, when you go through the firing and he's gone? And then I'm like, oh man, it's great. This happens. This happens. But just realizing that I'm stuck in that one moment of the process of letting go, which is it's minutes, but I'll spend hours stuck there. But the minute I can get unstuck in my mind to that next level, like it just frees up. It's just astonishing on how coaches can do that and help you see the bigger picture. And then it's like everything just starts to fall into place mentally. You start to completely see the path to get there. It's like Neo in the Matrix. Like all of a sudden it just becomes crystal clear, and like you see it at a level that other people just don't see it.
See, as your coach, I'm not in the game. I'm watching the game. And so by watching the game, I can see what's going on in the game. I don't have to be in the game to make the mistakes that you're making or to see where that mistake would lead. And so I love being a coach of business people. And I'm lucky enough now that I have, thousands of team members around the world that do the coaching, and I get to be the coach of the coaches these days. So I get to do, and I go back to that point of firing yourself as CEO. I fired myself as CEO of Action Coach when it was 10 years old. It's 26 years old today. And it was interesting because when we first got to 100 million, I was like, dang, I've never done that before. Okay, how do we get to 200, 3? Oh, well, I've never done that before either. What if I employ someone that has done that before? Wow, wouldn't that be an amazing thing? Because I look at it from this. I know my key skills. My key skills are getting on stage, teaching this stuff. So I speak at audiences all around the world. I do podcasts. I write books. So I'm the educator. That's what I actually love about my business. When I started to be CEO, guess what I did less of? The stuff I loved, the stuff I was great at, the stuff that made the company successful in the beginning. So I was like, And if I use an analogy, imagine Roger Federer, right? Best tennis player of our generation. Here he is. And Roger Federer says, you know what? Federer Incorporated is getting really big. I better stop playing tennis and I better start being the CEO of the company. Like everyone goes, well, that's just stupid. Who would he have play tennis then? Well, maybe we could hire Pete Sampras back or something like that. And, it just becomes crazy. See, sometimes just because you're the owner doesn't mean you need to be the CEO. In fact, sometimes because you're the owner, you're the worst person to be the CEO. Sometimes the best thing you can do is be the engineer that made the company successful, or be the salesperson that made the company the success it was, and hire a professional to do that job. Someone that's trained, skilled, and experienced at being a CEO of a company much bigger than yours, so they know how to get it there. And you go back to doing the one part you love and enjoy, and that's the thing. So I admire your friend for doing that. I think he did a great job by doing that for himself.
Yeah, and it really is eye-opening what you say, because I commonly say that too, is that, the business has grown and now this just got taken away from me, right? And that's how I feel. I feel like things that I've loved to do from the beginning are taken from me, like not by choice, like it just happens. And then, like you said, all the stuff you love to do, you're not doing anymore. And then you're in this weird mental place where it's like, am I even happy anymore? Like I did this because like middle fingers to the world, I want to do whatever I want to do. I don't like being told what to do. But then all of a sudden, accountants and attorneys and HR, and then all these people come into the organization, and you go from hating the man to being the man. You're like, whoa, what happened here?
I remember finding myself. I see finding myself
do this, right? And so then what they do to solve it is then they go start another business, or they completely get distracted from the primary organization. Do you see, you have to, I would imagine, see a lot of that happening with your coaching students.
You've got to know what you're great at. And, I remember finding myself about 10 years into the company, sitting in meetings with lawyers, accountants, IT people, and as you said, HR people. And I just found myself doing this all day. And I just looked at myself, and I remember getting on stage at an event with some of my people. And these should be these are my franchise partners. These are people I should love. I remember standing on stage just going, I hate all of you. I don't want to be here anymore. I hate everyone. I want to leave. And I went to my, at that time, chief marketing and sales officer. And I just turned to him, I said, congratulations, you just got a promotion. He went, what do you mean? I said, you are now the CEO. I'm resigning. And he looked at me, he goes, thank God. I didn't want to tell you, but you were not doing a good job lately. And I was like, thanks for not telling me, but you should have told me, type thing. Look, business is designed to teach us everything we don't know. It really is. And having a team of people that you build that do a great job, and having a great coach on your team, and having great other advisors on your team, I think that's really vital. But learning the process of building the business, learn how to do it. Read this latest one. Read that. I mean, I got 17 of the dang things out there. Jump on Amazon, buy all of them. But my point is, the more you can learn, the faster your business can grow. I mean, you build your people, they build your business, but building them starts with building you. And you as a business owner have to grow first and fastest, because without you growing, don't expect them to.
What kind of mistakes do you see entrepreneurs often make that are just repeated again and again and again with coaching students?
How long we got on this thing? First and foremost, I see, and I said it before, I see the working too hard thing. I'm working too hard, and I'm not looking for a better way. I fix my problems by doing too much myself. Lack of management, lack of leadership skills. See, lack of management leads to lack of execution. And execution is one of the other 5 disciplines that we go through. Leadership is the human side. I'd probably say the biggest one, Ty, is they go into business with the wrong strategy. The strategy of their business. See, strategy is made up of 4 main points. Leverage means, and my definition of leverage is do the work once, get paid forever. So you look at that from a product point of view or a service point of view. You look at that from a building a team point of view. You look at it from building a business. Second one is scalability. Next sale costs less and gets easier. And again, scale, most companies, they don't get easier as they get bigger. They actually get harder as they get bigger. And so you can tell their strategy is incorrect. 2 other points of strategy is marketability. Does the product or service sell itself? Is there already other people out there trying to help you sell the product, and are you just making money from it? And then 4th is opportunity size. And so when you look at the strategy behind the core strategy, the actual core business model behind most businesses, and I'll give you a simple example of this. Did you get to see, what was that, Ray Kroc's movie, The Founder? Did you get to ever see that?
I
So
did.
it should have been called the Finder, by the way, because his strategy was better than, see, most people's business strategy is the McDonald brothers. Let's work out how to sell burgers and let's just sell more burgers and every year sell 10% more burgers type thing. Ray Kroc walks in and goes, my strategy is put one of these on every single street corner in the country and then eventually in the world type thing. So that's what I do today. As an entrepreneur today, I find good opportunities. I just bought one down in Melbourne, Australia, actually, a commercial cleaning business. Phenomenal system, amazing system, just like the McDonald brothers, but in one location. Now it's all across Australia. It's opening all across the UK. And next year we open all across the United States because I changed up the strategy behind the course. So I think strategy and business modeling is probably the biggest challenge I see because they're building a business that really, they're so focused on the product or service, they forget the methodology of delivery, the business model behind it is actually more important than the actual product or service.
That's a powerful statement. I mean, you kind of had me stumped there because it really is. I mean, because it's so true. And, I watched Marcus Lemonis on The Profit. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
I love his show.
I love it. It's awesome.
I hate Shark Tank, but I love The Profit. The Shark Tank is complete trash. It's like no one ever invests in an idea. You invest in human beings. And that's where Marcus is a genius. He walks in, he meets the people. He gets in with the people, but he re-strategizes every business. That's why I love him too.
Yeah, I do too. And process is an important part of what he does. It's just so simple, I think it's people, product, and process, but he's so brilliant with what he does. And along that same line, that a large part of these businesses he goes in to save, they just have broken processes and they're so focused on the wrong thing, not their systems and the value of the organizations really within the systems.
Well, that's what with one of the disciplines, execution. Execution goes and looks at your planning, your systems, and then also your management, because day-to-day management is part of execution. And I don't know what happened, but somewhere in the 90s, management became a dirty word, and people are like, oh, you don't want to micromanage. Well, hang on. Management's about competency and productivity. If you got competency and productivity, you don't need micromanagement. But if someone's brand new to your organization, they're not competent, they're not productive, you've actually got to micromanage them in the beginning until you coach them, mentor them, and train them and build them into a competent, productive employee. Then you don't have to micromanage. But it's that balancing act between the two, I think, is really important.
So what do you think, what are some of the biggest impacts that you think that you've seen coaching really make on some of the organizations that you guys coach?
I think coaching's, like, if you look at it from an organization perspective, you see it from financials, you see it from customer relations, you see it from all those things. But the biggest impact coaching makes is not actually financial, it's human. It's about the business owner going from feeling trapped to actually now having options. It's from working 12, 16-hour days and being the only one working that much to now having a business that works and being able to do 4 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week, and the business runs. I mean, I always teach people, because for my own self, and I'm not saying this to be bragging or anything, but I work 12 hours a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work 6 hours a day on those 2 days, and I run 9 companies. And I teach that to people for a simple perspective, is that is possible. You can run a company in an hour a month. See, as a business coach, if I'm coaching you an hour a week, I'm technically running your business in an hour a week. And so ultimately, my goal is to teach you to be able to do that with your team. How do you run your business in 1 hour a week, and therefore go and run as many businesses as you want, and or build the lifestyle you want? I have an advantage, Ty, in that I'm an Australian, and the reason that's an advantage is very, very simple. Lifestyle is more important than business. Actually building a business that works so I didn't have to, building something that creates income, does great things, does that work, and I can work if I want to, but I don't have to. That to me is the freedom of business. The freedom is a bigger thing than all of the other stuff added together. If we can get to that point where we create freedom for business owners, and I also love the fact that business is the more, like, if I go out there and I help 10 businesses in one small town, each add 5 or 10 more employees, we've just impacted the economy of that town massively. We see that day in and day out. The more one business grows, the more the next business grows. And the economy right now is booming because of that. Every business keeps growing, and therefore every business keeps adding employees, and everything works.
Yeah, it's interesting because I built this my current company, Credit Suite. We about 10 million in sales, and I built it, from the strategy where I need to be working on it, not in it. And I'm there now. I don't need to work within the
Yeah.
organization. Most of my work is high level thinking. But Brad, I feel guilty, man, and it's weird, and I don't like know how to deal with that, right? Because like
Well,
I'm the guy that's done the 16, 20 hours. Like I'm the guy that was first one in, last one out. Like I pride myself on that. Like I did all the grunt work in the beginning, right? And built it. And like I'm an implementer. That's my strength. So it's so hard to focus on high level strategy now. Like I feel bad that I'm not actively doing the 16-hour days. And I like can't get past that mental block.
yeah. See, that's sometimes coaching. A big part of coaching, I find, is that human element. A business owner, the number one psychological thing you have to coach a business owner through is letting go, the ability to let go. And until I get a business owner's ability to let go, the business isn't going to grow because they want to be the superhero. See, most business owners suffer from superheroitis. An employee makes a mistake, business owner jumps in and fixes it. And they're like, whoa, look at me, cape, underpants on the outside. I'm the rock star here. Look how much I can do. And that superheroitis actually kills the business growth because you're not building people. You're showing your people how good you are rather than building your people. And see, what's got you to where you are is building people, building systems, building all of the things that make that successful. And yeah, buddy, that ability to let go is, all I can say to most business owners is we make them set the date by which the business will run without them. So I challenge everyone watching this today and listening today to this podcast to actually set the date by which it'll work. And then what you do is you actually have to book a 3-month vacation. You have to go book it now, even if it's 4 years out or 10 years out or whatever it is. Book a 3-month vacation and just know you're going on that date. Just be gone and do it. Let it go. And the funny thing is, when you come back, your people have done a better job without you there than when you were there. I remember when I retired and I took off. I just had to leave because I just didn't want to be in the company anymore. And I left and I came back and they were making more money and they were doing a better job. And we had more team members and we had more profitability. And I'm just sitting there going, I should have left earlier. But I know it's a hard thing sometimes. It's like, your kids have got to leave and go to college at some stage. So does your business. Let your business go to college. Let it grow up. And that's often the thing. I find that, goals are also limiting beliefs. Like a goal is also a glass ceiling. If I came in, like, I'll give you an example. This property management company I bought down in Texas, the two guys that ran that, great guys, phenomenal business people, doing a phenomenal job, 30% growth a year. I walk in and say, okay, we're going to do 30 times growth this year. And they look at me like I'm an idiot. I go, no, we're going to grow 30 times. We opened offices all across Texas in the first year. This year, it's being bought out by another company that's going to put in another $100 million to take it to nationwide. That's going to have 2,200 offices across the country. And they're still going to be in there. But they didn't see that. See, they couldn't see that. I said, listen, this will have 2,200 offices across the United States. That's what it will have. We will need to raise 50 to 100 million to go and do that. And they're like, well, how do you raise 50 to 100 million? Well, we'll get to that when we're ready for that. Let's first of all prove out the concept that we can open multiple offices and do all that sort of stuff. See, I challenge business people, Ty, with one simple question. If you tell me you're going to have 30% growth this year, I say, well, what would it take to have 30 times? And they look at me like I'm strange. I said, well, okay, let me make it even simpler. How are you going to open the business in India? India, fastest growing economy on the planet, going to be the biggest population base by 2030. Half of the population is millennials or younger. This is not an aging out population. This is the growth economy of the next century. How are you going to open in India? And they look at me again strange. And I go, well, hang on. If you're just thinking about adding one new customer, you forget that you could be thinking about adding 100 new customers. That's marketing versus sales. If you're thinking about adding 100 new customers, you're not thinking about opening a new office or a new shop or a new warehouse instead. You're not thinking about opening another city, or you're not thinking about opening another state or another country or another continent. There's different levels of thinking for everybody. And my goal in writing this book was just to challenge people to exponential thinking and give them a systematic methodology by which exponential thinking can happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to grab that book because we've gotten way off topic. I mean, I'm not even into coaching anymore. Like I just mesmerized. I'm like mesmerized what you're saying because it's so true. Like I have that same problem. Like I'm trying to grow this to $100 million company, and they say, you surround yourself with people that have been there. I don't know anybody that's done that. Like I don't know anybody that's lived. So it's hard to visualize. Like I try to visualize that life, and the brain just short circuits. It's like overload. It doesn't even understand the programming, right?
It's funny. Once a year, I invite 10 of our clients from around the world here to Vegas, and I do $100 million week with them, where I sit with them and I show them, and I draw it up on the whiteboard for all 10 clients, all of the 10 of them. I draw it up on the whiteboard. Here's how you get to 100 million. This is the strategy. This is the marketing. This is the sales structure. This is all these things. That's how you get there. And as you said, none of them have been there before. I've been there. So let me show you how to get to 100 million. Now, I can't run $1 billion strategy week because I'm yet to have one company hit $1 billion. But once I do, I'm then going to start teaching $1 billion strategy week. But the $100 million week for me is both the best week of the year for me and the hardest week of the year for me because I'm reconstructing 10 companies. And the best part is if I'm teaching one of them franchising, the next one's going, hey, we might use that at some point down the road. And the next one I'm teaching them licensing, or then how to create a rental business, or how to open geographically into China. This is how you open in China. This is what you do. This is where you go. And it's fun for me. I love doing that stuff. But again, bringing it back to coaching, my friend, everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs someone that's been there, done that, had the, bought the t-shirt type thing. And I love growing businesses, and I know my coaching team around the world does the same. And if anyone wants any help, jump on. All of my coaches around the world must do 4 hours a week, or 5 hours a week, actually, pro bono, 4 with business owners and 1 with a charity. So if you need an hour of coaching to get you started, jump on our website, actioncoach.com, and register for one of those free hours. All my team everywhere in the world does 5 hours a week pro bono. So come chat with us.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Let me go through that again. So what's you got, that's actioncoach.com, right?
That one there, actioncoach.com. Jump on actioncoach.com, bradsugars.com. You can find me on any social media. I'm pretty easy to find on the social media stuff, other than Pinterest. I'm not really a crafty kind of guy. But LinkedIn, you'll find me. Insta, Twitter, all of them, you'll find me out there chatting away. Yeah, I do a lot of videos on that stuff because I enjoy teaching. It's just, there's very few people that have done it that actually teach it anymore. And that's one of the biggest challenges, Ty.
Well, and I appreciate what you do because it really speaks to me at the heart. I mean, you've talked about, over the last 40 minutes or so, you talked about a lot of the problems that resonate from the inception of our business to where we are now, and decisions you have to make. And it's a crazy world, like, because you get to the point where you're outside the business, and then I don't know, there's just a million things that are involved in decisions. And, do you stay? Do you go? Do somebody else take it there that's been there? Or do you bring in board of advisors, directors, and coaches to help you get to that level? And what do you really want? It's so crazy that the bigger it gets, how more confusing the whole thing becomes.
The more you got to learn. I mean, you can never out earn your learning. It's as simple as that. But I want to say to everyone watching and listening to this, listen, the reason I love your podcast is because you're living this every day, Ty. You're doing this every day. You're not some guy that's just doing a podcast. You live and breathe what you teach. And so I've listened to a bunch of your podcasts, and anyone that's watching this for the first time, please subscribe. You've got to subscribe and watch and listen to this. Go back and download all the old ones too, because there's a bunch of great material in there.
I appreciate it, Brad. So as we wrap up, any parting thoughts?
It's simple. Business ownership, one of the loneliest jobs in the world. Go get yourself a coach. Go hang with a mentor. Have someone that you can talk to every single day.
It's awesome. So everybody, Brad, thanks for tuning in. And this has been powerful.
I love being here with you, buddy. I love podcasts so much because I get to teach, I get to learn, and I always go back and listen to a whole bunch. So yours have been great. Thank you.
So, wow, everybody. I mean, I don't know how that was for you, but that was extremely powerful for me, to a point where I can't talk because I now have like 19 wheels in my head turning, trying to figure out 100 high-level big problems. As a result of that, it's so powerful. And I believe so much in having a coach. And I also believe that you need coaches that can grow with your organization, because I found that you can easily outgrow your coach. So what they've done here with, Action Coach is these guys have figured it out. I mean, they have developed this and done this for 15,000 businesses every week, 70 countries around the world. So no matter what your scenario is, they've, like you said, you've got some pro bono where that helps for an hour for you to see what it's like, or for you to come in and actually get it on their paid service. It's well worth the investment. I personally have never met anybody who's got in and used coach and it hurt their business. I've never found anybody whose business did worse when they actually had a good coach. Everybody I've met that's ever had a coach says, wow, like this is what happened after I had a coach. I will say that, and everybody else that I know. So make sure you go. Make sure you check it out. Go to actioncoach.com. I'm going to put the links on the show resources page. Our show resources page is at creditsuite.com/podcast. So if you go to actioncoach.com, then you're going to be able to access a lot of information, get in touch with these guys about coaching, and make sure you grab Brad's books. I'm going to grab one, and if it doesn't suck, I'll get another one. I'm just kidding.
Buddy, that one there, I literally joke with people because it's almost 3 pounds. It's 200. And it's like, dang, because we had to get into not just what to do, but how to do it.
Well, that's cool. You think, Brad, well, I'll talk to you off, but I am actually going to leave this and get one of your books right now. And I want to know which one to start with, but we'll talk about that when we wrap up. But I do recommend that you go, because what's interesting about what Brad has done is that you have to understand he has sat ahead of an organization that helps tens of thousands of different types of businesses with different countries and different challenges all around the world, and taken all that communal knowledge and put it into a systematic step-by-step on how to succeed and overcome certain things depending on the book that you're actually getting. You don't find that. You just don't. It's very rare you're going to find somebody that authors a book that's overseen a $100+ million organization, serviced all these industries, and then sit down and write the system and the step to do it. So I'm definitely going to grab one of Brad's books. I recommend you grab them all. That's probably what I'm going to do. Start with the first one and knock them out. And then make sure you go to actioncoach.com. Make sure you get in touch. Get an hour with a coach. Go see what happens. Give them a call. Reach out to them. See what they can do. I'm pretty sure you're going to find what I find, which is that shift in perspective is crazy results for the business, just seeing things from a different angle and different perspective, having somebody to hold you accountable and be there to help you through the business growth. So make sure you check out actioncoach.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.